What's up, you guys? St. Louis is now in the books, and this was the first time ever that St. Louis was designated a World Supercross round, or I should say a Super Motocross playoff round, at least under these circumstances anyway. And wowee, the action there did not disappoint at all. We got a title chase now in the 250 class. In the 450 class, Jett Lawrence. I've run out of things to say about Jett. The guy is so damn good at this sport. And like I said before, Jett Lawrence, the way that he rides, the fact that he came from last to fourth, please tell me you're not getting signs of McGrath when he was at Honda, because I haven't seen that kind of riding from someone as young as Jett Lawrence since maybe McGrath was at Honda back in the 90s. Except the difference there was that Jeremy only cared about Supercross and he had to work on the outdoors until he won the title in 95. Jett Lawrence is proficient in both disciplines, Supercross and motocross. Is that a kind of like a one-up on Jeremy McGrath? I would say so, but, either way, I haven't seen that kind of talent since McGrath was under Honda. Okay? I'm going to get into that real quick, but remember, guys, subscribe if you think that I'm worth listening to, or if you just want to see some more of my games. I have one posted already at the start of this week. Wasn't able to get my Wheel Fortune game going on, so you won't see that for a bit. But in the meantime, I'm going to start at the 250 class. I'm going to keep this all one video. Let's get into this. Here comes my banner. Joe Shimoda wins. Levi Kitchen gets aggressive with Haiden Deegan. Was it warranted? Haiden Deegan dominates the first moto, but in the second moto, Levi Kitchen just runs it in on him and takes them both down. Now, there are some people who are saying that, it was a stupid move, or some are commending Levi Kitchen for the kind of move that he made on Haiden Deegan. My take on it, it was ill-advised, but I commend Levi Kitchen for doing something to get aggressive with Haiden Deegan. And this is another Jeremy McGrath reference I'm going to put on him. The way that Deegan is dominating the 250 class, what Levi Kitchen did is an example of how many times I've heard David Bailey say that this is how you beat McGrath. You challenge him. You don't let him go. Give him a shoulder every once in a while. Bother him in practice. Be on his mind. But Deegan wasn't even intimidated at all. And the fact that he handled it the way that he did, he came a long way from when Seth Hamaker put him down, or he put Seth Hamaker down, and then he went right to the pro circuit tent. And I guess there were some heated words exchanged back then. I don't know if you guys remember that. I think that was 2023. Yeah, it was 2023. And granted, Deegan may have been on the faulty side in that situation, but to see Deegan handle that the way that he did, I commend him as well, because the other takeouts from back in the day that I remember, the guy who instigated it would be the one going right after the other guy's throat, for sure. I can remember when Jason Lawrence did that back in the late 2000s, when he did that to Josh Grant at San Francisco 07. But still, anyway, back to today's racing. Joe Shimoda, I think Honda better tell him to purposely get sick if he's going to come away with another overall win with the 2-2, and he benefited from Deegan coming back from last to 14th. But as far as Levi Kitchen goes, going back to that, my take on it, it was ill-advised, but I still commend Deegan for doing, or I should say, I should commend Deegan for doing something to prevent this title from being this title chase from being a runaway. But here's the thing. If I was Levi Kitchen, I don't know if I would have done exactly what he did. Now, Jeremy McGrath was well known for making these kinds of passes where he would cut to the inside of someone, move over on him, and make Deegan roll the next jump. And that's what Levi Kitchen should have done. If he took the same berm as Joe Shimoda did, he could have faded over to his left, make Deegan check up, and roll the double and leave Deegan in a pretty dangerous position if he wanted to. He could have been a real dick about that. But back in the day, if that was Jeremy McGrath doing that, that's exactly what he would have done. I'm going to say that right now. So while I commend Kitchen on the move, and while I do think it was ill-advised, I'm glad to see somebody do something. And so, excuse me, that was my phone notification, but I'll check that later. But still, I commend Deegan or Kitchen for that. But the way that I describe what I would have done is exactly what Kitchen should have done, and maybe leave Deegan in the dust. Because Deegan, if Kitchen had taken the same line as Shimoda and faded into Deegan's way, he could have made Deegan roll the double and continue on without crashing. That was the thing that Jeremy McGrath was known for. He made aggressive passes on guys without putting the other guy down. If he sent Deegan off the track, I could probably live with that. But at the same time, like I said, I commend Kitchen for making the move that he did. Okay? So, as for other guys, Joe Shimoda wins with the 2-2. And Tom Vialle wins the second moto. Now, Tom Vialle, I don't know what's up with this guy. The fact that KTM is having some kind of shock problems, like how Chase Sexton had some during the outdoors, leads me to believe that Tom is just waiting for this season to be over. And, of course, the word is he is going back to MXGP, which I think is a big miscarriage of justice. And I do think that some of the B-level teams at least should be looking at Tom Vialle, or at least some of the factory teams. Like, I'm surprised that Kawasaki hasn't looked at Tom Vialle. But at the same time, another guy they should look at, Ty Masterpool. And by the way, shout out to Ty Masterpool with a 6.4, his best finish of the 2025 year. And one wonders why Ty Masterpool is the guy on the chopping block when Cameron McAdoo has missed more races than he has, and McAdoo's still signed for 2026. It just makes you wonder why things happen the way they do in sports. But unfortunately, this happens all the time. One guy who misses so much time is still signed for next year, while another guy who's probably put in more better performances than another guy has is on the chopping block. And in this case, Ty Masterpool is on the chopping block, supposedly, with Pro Circuit. And that does kind of make you scratch your head, especially like myself, because I'm under the belief of second chances or extra opportunities. And in this case, Ty Masterpool being re-signed with Pro Circuit or with Factory Kawasaki would be that proverbial second chance. Now, if Kawasaki is nice enough to let Masterpool race the 250 class, let him. Okay? But still, I just thought I'd give Ty Masterpool a shout-out for his best finish of the season. So, Joe Shimoda now controls his own destiny. All he needs to do is get first or second, and he will win the SMX title. And that would be a great feather in Joe's cap, and certainly be a good starting point for the 26th Supercross season. Now, I had already said in a prior video that I was calling Seth Hammaker as the next champ in whatever division he runs, whether East or West, because Seth really came into his own. And I think Joe Shimoda is starting to come into his own. And if it wasn't for that pit board incident in Supercross after he won Anaheim 1, maybe Joe would have been a 250 West titleist. I'm not sure. Or you could have given Deegan a good run for his money. But obviously, we'll never know. We'll just have to wait till next year. But am I calling Joe Shimoda as the other divisional champ? Sure. If he's in the East Coast with Seth Hammaker, I'm going to call it a battle between those two. And if Hammaker is in a different division, I'm calling Seth Hammaker as the champion of that division. But odds are pretty good that Shimoda is still going to stay on the West Coast. I doubt that Shimoda is going to run the East unless Honda decides to do a little flip-flop and have Chance Hymas run the West Coast. And so one wonders if Chance Hymas is going to come into his own. He did win one of the races, I believe, East Rutherford in that slop fest. So one wonders how Chance Hymas will do in 26 along with Shimoda. Are they going to swap coasts? Odds are probably not. But honestly, I think that Joe Shimoda would do a little better on the East Coast. That's just my take. Because although that Joe is a good West rider, I like to see how he does in the East Coast Supercross season. Do I think he's going to win it? So. But obviously we'll have to just wait and see. But odds are pretty good that Shimoda's going to stay West and Chance Hymas is going to stay on the East. Okay, now to the 450 class. Hunter Lawrence wins with a 1-3. Jett Lawrence last to fourth in Moto 1. And of course, Jett Lawrence wins the second moto, fourth in the first moto. He's second overall. And I think that he does control his own destiny as well. And it looks like that Jett is going to be a 3-time SMX champ. But wow, that first moto ride from Jett Lawrence, 21st to 4th, I haven't seen a comeback like that in a Supercross or motocross race since probably Jeremy McGrath did Chaparral Yamaha. Because when I was following the sport, when Jeremy McGrath had to come from the back, he would always come back to 4th. I can remember Seattle 99 and Indianapolis 99 and Dallas 2000, where McGrath had troubles in the first turn, and he would come back for a 4th place finish. And of course, real followers of the sport, like and I know I'm a longtime follower myself, but this was before my time. But when Jeremy McGrath was in the 125 class at the time, in 15 laps, he came from dead last to win San Jose. So that kind of reminded me a little bit what Jett Lawrence did, coming from near last all the way up to 4th. I haven't seen anything like that since Jeremy McGrath. And if you're not getting McGrath vibes from Jett Lawrence like how I am, I don't know who you're following. I don't know who Jett reminds you of. But like I said, I haven't seen that kind of talent under Honda since maybe Jeremy McGrath. Okay? So Hunter Lawrence wins at St. Louis, and that's good on him. So we'll see how the points go. And maybe, just maybe, it's going to be an all-out brawl between the Lawrences. But my gut says that Jett is going to come out on top. Because to me, Hunter Lawrence is a little start dependent. Okay? And if he gets a good start, he can do great things. He can win races. But if Jett gets the good start over Hunter, it's done. Okay? Unless Jett goes down. And I just don't see that happening. Like I said, Jett Lawrence is reminding me of McGrath when he was at Honda. So let that little inkling thing stick in your mind. So we'll find out if Hunter would take Jett down. Odds are he might go for it if it's for $1 million. And Hunter is one of those guys. If he gets the good start over Jett, I think it's going to take Jett a long time to get around Hunter. But after hearing that Jett and Hunter don't see the track until track walk, that's a major sign of confidence on their part, for sure. And to see them ride the track like the way that they do and consistently be faster than everyone else, I think it's a sign that natural talent is in this family, for sure. And that's where I'll leave it. So anyway, guys, I thought I'd keep it short. Thanks for watching. And remember, subscribe. I'll see you all for the final round at Las Vegas.